Alright, I started off in the Slayer name. Hanwire Garrison. This is a human soldier 2/3. It costs 2 generic, 1 red. Whenever Hanwire Garrison attacks, create 2 1/1 human creature tokens onto the battlefield tapped and attacking as well. It's in my Jetmir deck. It is great for token generation. It's like a weaker version of Adeline if you ask me, but at the same time you're getting 2 tokens every turn attacking, and if there's somebody with no board state and it's turn 3, you can easily start just building up your board state with more creature tokens. Tom?
Yeah, if you're kind of limited to like staying with red only, I see this being very useful, and you are running around like token or eccentric type cards. But don't forget that this card also melds, and it melds with Hanwire Battlements, which is a land. That's pretty doable, right? And then once you get the land out and that card out, and pay the 5 mana cost, you're going to get the Hanwire, or Hanware, however you say it, the Writhing Township, which is now a 7/4 trample haste.
Nope.
That's going to put 2/3/2 eldrazi horror tokens instead. So it can actually, be, sometimes it can be better than an Adeline. I would probably only run this in eccentric tokens, like red only deck, just because there's so many other better cards that does what Hanware does.
So I have Hanwire Battlements as well in there. What's really good about Hanwire Battlements is if you tap 1 red mana and tap it, target creature gains haste until end of turn. So if you have a creature that you need attacking fast or need to be able to tap right then and there, you put this in a Rakdos style deck, Aristocrats deck.
Or throw it in Rule, throw it in any type of...
I wouldn't go past 2 to 3 colors though. I wouldn't put this in any deck.
There's a lot of different commanders that I throw this in. Creature-centric Naya. Shoot, throw it in a Jetmir.
It's in there.
See? So what are you talking about?
What did I say? I said that nothing past 3.
Oh.
Yeah. You just probably only heard 2.
What?
All right, the next one up on the red, we have Nahiri's Wrath. It is a sorcery, 2 generic, 1 red. As an additional cost to cast Nahiri's Wrath, discard X cards. Nahiri's Wrath then deals damage equal to the total converted mana cost of the discarded cards to each of up to X target creatures and or planeswalkers. So this is a bit of a board wipe potentially. If you're putting this in a reanimate deck, I think that this could be a fun card to have in there, because if you're then utilizing your strong 5 to 7 mana cards, and then you have a reanimate that comes in afterwards, it's going to be a good time. But other than that, I wouldn't really see this much usage. What about you?
Madness mechanics. Nahiri's Wrath, I mean, it's a solid 3 mana board wipe. It does require, discarding a total converted mana cost depending on what it is. If you have like one of those super high mana costs where you're just not going to reach it and the board's going crazy, it's perfect for that situation. I mean, really depends on what type of deck you're running it with, but cards that have a lot of synergies with discarding, so like is it type spells or is it type decks, you might see this in. You might also see this in Rakdos type decks that involve madness, going into those reanimation type decks where you're including black colors with it, so that way it can reanimate those cards. It's pretty solid. I mean, it has the right mechanics. Reminds me of Corpse Explosion, but that one exiles a card CMC that's in your graveyard already. Kind of the same effect, right? CMC, deal X damage based on that to all creatures, all planeswalkers. So I give it a slay.
I'll give it a slay as well. Tom, what's our last one for red?
Mirror Wing Dragon. This is a card where you're running it in a Spell Slinger deck, and then it's not just like any type of Spell Slinger. It's kind of like a Zada Spell Slinger type deck, right? Where you're putting it, you're targeting Mirror Wing, and then with that, you're going to copy that spell for each creature that you control. Just like Zada, put Double Strike on all your creatures with trample somehow. There's a couple cards that would go with it, but that's what you're going to be seeing with this type of card. I've seen this card pop off. It's to me, this card's a slay.
Yeah, this is definitely going in Feather the Redeemed deck, or Zada, like you just said. The only other one that I can think of is the Howling Abomination. You're going to be using it for the ability as well, more so than the attacking for it. I like this card a lot. It's a slay in my eyes.
Yeah, no, if you build around it right, it's a slay. What's next, Kyle?
Alright, we're going over to the green. We've got Splendid Reclamation. 3 generic, 1 green is a sorcery. Return all lands from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Any landfall deck. Absolute must. You're going to be using this towards the end. I get it if you're using Crucible of the Worlds, if you're using the Green Warden as well, I believe that's what it is.
Yep.
Green Warden. You're going to be playing your lands from your graveyard, so I get it. It might not be worth it, but if you're putting this in your Borbor Gamos deck, for sure, because you're discarding your lands already.
Yep.
And I would, you have this in your deck, right?
No, I actually took it out.
Oh, really?
I have mixed feelings about this card. I think my biggest issue is that all these cards are returning to the battlefield tapped. I mean, and sometimes when you're in that position where you just have this card in your hand, you might just only have 2 or 3 lands in your graveyard sometimes, and it just feels underwhelming. But there are times where you just end up having all the lands in your graveyard, and then it feels amazing when you play it. It's very, very mixed feelings about it. I honestly would rather have a Scape Shift over the Splendid Reclamation. I really do feel like you can get away without having it. It can be a slay, it can be a nay to me. For me, just right now, just because of the way how I feel about it and, my use cases, I'm going to give it a nay.
All right, well.
It's crazy.
I see your point, but I'm still giving it a slay.
It is a slay. I mean, it's not, but it just never works out for me.
Next up, we have Permeating Mass. I liked this card because it just seems so mean. Whenever it deals damage to a creature, that creature then turns into Permeating Mass. So I just automatically thought, I'm swinging, and I have an ability, whether it be an enchantment or another creature, that some creature must defend if able to. And I'm going after someone that only has 2 creatures out, and both of them are important. Now, I'm turning it and disabling whatever the abilities of that creature are. Makes you think of the Matrix. When,
How would it make you think?
Yeah, it makes me think of the Matrix when the
Agent Smith.
Yeah, when he just grabs
touches people and now they're Agent Smiths.
Yeah, Permeating Mass. So when you make the Matrix, wotc, I know you're going to make a Universes Beyond, because if you're already doing this for Fallout, it's only a matter of time. You have to make Permeating Mass Agent Smith. That would be incredible. But I just liked it a lot. It seemed mean. It's 1 mana.
We're copywriting that idea.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding.
Pay us. That's why I think this card is going to be really good. It's just a fun card, and it's super mean. I say slay. What about you, Tom?
It's kind of funny. We just had Murders of Karlog come out, and there's a certain card that specifically revolves around needing creatures to block it. Good old Anzrag.
Oh.
If you throw this in an Anzrag deck, when you're rocking out with Anzrag, there's that one card that you're going to want with it, where it basically makes it indestructible and all creatures have to block it. Roar the Challenge, right? And then if you do that, now instead of having Anzrag out, you have Permeating Moss out. You play Roar the Challenge. Oh, wait, you do need to have the creature to have 4 power. So you do need, at some point, to give Permeating Moss somehow indestructible.
You just put this in a 1/1 counter set.
You can do that. You can. But, throw a Mithril Coat on it, play Roar the Challenge. You're turning all your opponent's shit into a Permeating Mass. Agent Smith. Pretty cool.
I'm giving it a slay. It's fun.
I'll give it a slay because it's goofy.
Alright, last one you got on the green.
Decimator of Provinces. It's 10 mana costs. Technically a colorless, but it does have the green color identity thanks to its emerge cost. 6 and 3 green. You can cast the spell by sacrificing a creature and paying the emerge cost reduced by that creature's CMC. So with that, when it enters the battlefield, creatures that you control are going to get +2/+2 and gain trample until end of turn. So it's basically the green Raise Boar, right? Raise End Runner. And with that, the emerge cost. You sacrifice a creature, let's say it's 4 mana. Now instead of having to pay 9 mana, now it's going to be reduced to 5 mana for that vigilance, trample, end rate, or raise end runner, right? And then in a sense, I think that's a little bit better than that card specifically that you see on like MTG Arena.
It's like it's a nerfed down Craterhoof Master.
Yeah.
Craterhoof Behemoth.
Yeah, but you can get it out for cheaper now too.
Craterhoof Behemoth's only 8.
Yeah, but now you can, if you sacrifice a creature, let's say...
9.
No, but you can, the creature's CMC cost reduces the emerge cost. So if you sacrifice a creature with 6 CMC, boom, you reduce it by 6 mana. Now it's only 3 mana to pay that.
It's not that bad. I guess +2/+2 trample. Not bad. Like I said, it's not as powerful, but it'll get the job done.
Throw this in a elf deck, right? Allow elves on the battlefield. Use a couple of them to tap to pay for it, and then sacrifice those elves that are tapped. It comes out.
Sacrifice one.
Yep. So sacrifice one of the elves that's tapped. That's the highest mana cost. Sacrifice it. Throw it on the battlefield. Now all those elves are on the battlefield with it. Get +2/+2 and trample. Smash. 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 Smash.
All right. That's gonna be a slay as well. Seems like all the cards that we're gonna. Almost all the cards that we have on here are slays. Well, why would we talk about the names?
I mean, and that's the thing, right? Because we're trying to see if these are slays. And Splendid Recommendation wasn't a slay to me. It all varies based on, your game style, how you play it, and if it makes sense. Mm-hmm. Especially in today's fast-paced game.
We've got, next up is going to be blue on the colors. We've got Imprisoned in the Moon, 2 generic, 1 blue, it's an aura. Enchanted land, creature, or planeswalker is a colorless land with tap it, add 1 generic mana to the mana pool, and uses all other types and abilities. I like it. It's just another way to dismantle somebody's commander, somebody's win con. I like it a lot. If it had enchantment, this would be an absolute game changer. But just to be able to do a creature or a land, so if you are trying to mana fix with your Triome, and that's the only way that you're able to get all of your colors out, now I'm going to throw it right on that. Now you're stuck. I've seen that ruin people's games. What about you?
Yeah, talk about pissing someone off.
I'm surprised you don't have this in one of yours, in your Emery.
Yeah, the 3 mana cost always gets me. Because I'd rather just have Witness Protection, which is 1 mana cost. But the fact that it touches a Planeswalker also, pretty evil.
It makes sense too, because those are the Gates watches in this set.
Mm-hmm.
That's so slay for me.
I give it a slay.
What's up next?
Goats from the Blind Eternities. It's a 3 mana sorcery. Basically, you can choose an Eldrazi card that you own from outside the game or in exile. Reveal that card and put it in your hand. Are you allowed to have a sideboard in Commander? I don't know if this card is valid.
You can still use it for the exile cost.
Yeah, if there's a card, if you have an Eldrazi in exile.
Yeah, someone passed to exile, someone farewells. Now I have a way to bring this back out.
It's an A for me, man.
Nay, then it is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see it really being that useful because, granted, you're finding an Eldrazi outside the game, but I don't think that works in Commander.
I'm not sure it does either. Alright, so nay on that one. And then we've got Mind's Dilation. Blue, it's an enchantment. Whenever an opponent casts his or her first spell each turn, that player exiles the top card of his or her library. If it's a non-land card, you may cast it without paying its mana cost. It costs a lot, but now you're just playing other people's decks for free. I like it a lot. I think I would only put this in a deck if I could cheat it out for much less than the 7 cost, but I'm 100% putting this in any type of like full control decks. What about you, Tom? What do you think?
It's tough. It's 7 mana. I think it can be fun. To get to that spot, is it useful? Maybe. Yeah, I'll give it a slay.
Well, the top commander that this card is put into, is going to be Tasha the Witch Queen, because it's all about putting things in exile as well. So you're going to be able to play stuff from in exile. So that means you can go into any of your other enemies and play their stuff.
No, it's just the first spell each turn when they cast it. Just that card that gets exiled.
Yeah, but now they exile the top card. That card is still in exile, and now I can go play it in exile from other players' exile.
Yeah, no, I mean that's just you playing other people's decks.
Yeah, that's ultimate control deck. This is going in it, but that's why I'll give it a slay.
I'll give it a slay.
All right, that's all for the blue. We're up to black. What do we got on first?
Collective brutality. Together we can be brutal. Has the escalate cost, discard a card, so this way instead of choosing one mode, now you can choose more, or all of them to be exact, right? Or whichever ones you want to do. And with this one, you get the 3 modes, where it kind of reminds me of Inscription, the Inscription card for the black ones. I forget the exact name of it, Inscription of Ruins or something. And basically, target player reveals his or her hand. Then you can choose an instant sorcery card from it and have it removed from it. And then target creature gets -2/-2. Target opponent loses 2 life and gains 2 life. It's a 2 mana cost. You get to discard a card. If you're playing around that type of synergy, works really well because that card that you might want to discard can be a big, mean creature that you want to reanimate later. Maybe a Consecrated Sphinx that you can reanimate later, right?
I bought that card the other day.
Consecrated?
Yeah, I got the borderless Double Masters because it was the cheapest at $20.
Boo.
Yeah.
Oh.
I wonder what deck that's going in.
Hopefully the trash can.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, I'm gonna give it a nay. I think the card's still too underwhelming. -2/-2. If it said target creature gets destroyed or destroy target creature, then I give it a slay. But the fact that it's only -2/-2, it's pretty underwhelming.
What if I'm trying to kill my own thing to create a trigger to go off?
Run an Ashnod's Altar. Better.
I'll give it a nay as well then, just from that perspective. I mean, I like that it was a duress. It was a something quite, which is the -2/-2, the enchantment aura. And then target opponent loses 2 life, you gain 2 life, all for discarding. Because if I'm using it to then reanimate the card that I'm discarding for the escalate cost, that's the only scenario I can see this being used right in. So nay.
Yeah, too many conditions for this card to be good.
Yeah, it's too niche to be used in a deck or put in the 99.
Yeah.
Alright, so we have Crypt Breaker up next on the black cards that we saw for the Slayer name. It is a zombie. It is a 1/1. It's got a special ability which is tap 1 generic and 1 black. Discard a card, put a 2/2 black zombie creature token onto the battlefield. Or you can then tap 3 untapped zombies you control. You draw a card and you lose 1 life. This card is just a staple in any tribal zombie deck, for sure.
Yeah.
You're thinking of Zarina instantly.
I'm also thinking of just like this card, like centric type decks, right? Turgid if you're evil, or Tiny Bones if you're less evil and like to draw cards from discarding. Although, actually, no, Tiny Bones doesn't work with this. Now that I'm thinking about it, it has to make the other opponents discard. In a sense, Zombie Tribal is just the obvious one that makes sense with this type of deck.
Yeah. I mean, everything that I'm seeing here that goes cohesively with this card, Crypt Breaker, is going to be like Sidisi, Mikaeus, Scarab God, Grim Grin, Gisang Geralf, all of the top tier zombie commanders out there. That's why we put it on the Slayer Nay. It's a very great utility creature for that deck.
Yeah, 1 mana too. 1 mana, 1/1 has that ability, and just the fact that you might be able to get to draw cards. It has Kumina's like the Merfolk card effect, being able to tap 3 untapped zombies, drawing cards. That's huge.
I'm gonna give it a slay.
It's a slay.
What do we have up next, Tom?
Liliana, the last hope, coming in with 2 black, 1 generic planeswalker, and with its ability, it comes out with 3 loyalty counters. With the +1 ability, it has up to 1 target creature gets -2/-1 until the end of your next turn, or until your next turn, excuse me. And then for the -2 loyalty counters, you get to put the top 2 cards of your library into the graveyard, and then you may return a creature card from your graveyard to your hand. And then for its ultimate, at -7 loyalty counters, you get an emblem with, at the beginning of your end step, put X 2/2 black zombie creature tokens onto the battlefield, where X is 2 plus the number of zombies you control. For my first initial thoughts, I'm going to say it's a banger. Just because it's a low 3 mana cost planeswalker. You get that out on maybe turn 2. Turn 1, you're playing a quick ramp spell. Or maybe turn 1, you might be able to get Liliana out with a Dark Ritual, right? And then at that point, you're going to either, kill all those like 1/1 dorks, mana dorks that are out there, or any 1/1 creatures. But more importantly, also just get your graveyard filled up, and maybe also find a really good creature card from that graveyard as you get to return one. As far as getting the -7, you might be lucky and be able to do that ultimate, and if you do, that's pretty solid. I mean, you probably get to turn, I believe it's turn 4, because we started at 3, 4 turns later, you're going to be at 7, and then that's when you'll be able to hit that -7, unless you're running Proliferate or some type of deck like that. How about you, Kyle? What are your thoughts?
I mean, we were just talking about in Murders at Karlov Manor, the effect of Massacre Girl, Known Killer. And that's going to be a great commander with this in the 99 because of the fact of that +1 ability right there that you're giving -2/-1 to target creature till end of turn. So if you're killing them, then you're getting a draw card. So you just created a draw engine between Liliana the Last Hope and Massacre Girl.
That's true.
But it feels like the theme of Eldritch Moon because of what Liliana has to do. I mean, Liliana's ability is all about recursion as well. It's the undead. So zombie theme is going to be huge for this. And that's why I could be just saying the same exact commanders that I said for Cryptbreaker, like Ghoulcaller, Gisa. You're seeing Gisa and Grolf, the Scarab God, Nevin Rahl. All the staples that you see out there.
Yeah, especially if you might be like sacrificing those creatures that you do have that are non-token, you need to bring them back. I mean, here, Liliana's going to do that exactly with the -2 ability. But I mean, you have both, card advantage, you also have creature removal as well. And then, later on, if you are able to get that ultimate off, I mean, now you're just going to probably be ending the game with a lot of 2/2 zombies.
Exactly. So I'm gonna give it an A, only because I just don't play tribal, like tribal zombies. It's hard because it is 3 mana, correct? So it's not as bad as a lot of the other ones, but at the same time, I know you were saying, by the way, that you've been using your planeswalkers in Arena for just blockers because everybody tends to go after that, and now you're actually just diverting from actually taking damage from it, which I get. But when you're in a pod with 4 people, they don't last that long anymore.
Yeah, they usually don't. I mean, the one thing that is very much lacking in this is having blockers right off the bat. But if you have, let's say, 1 blocker, 2 blockers out in the battlefield with Liliana out, you're going to have a higher chance at keeping that thing on the battlefield. And then hopefully, you'll be able to at least get some card recursion or creature recursion by being able to get your creatures from the graveyard. And if anything, start hindering your opponents by doing the -2/-1 on their creatures. I think it's a slay to me.
Hey man, we don't have to agree on every card. That's the best part about it. That's why we do Slay or Nay. Even earlier in this video, I want to say, or in one of our other episodes, I even said we kind of say all the slays, but I mean, this set, it's definitely shown that we don't agree on every card.
Yeah, I mean, I'm biased. I love the black cards.
See, and same thing for me with green. Green's my favorite color if I had to choose out of all of them. I mean, I personally just love green-white Selesnya. Mixed in with a third color, though. I don't really care what the other one is, just to utilize the protection. And again, that's what makes me a Tibby player. I get it. But I think that's the last one that we have for the black colors that we saw. Now we're going to go up to the white ones. First off, we've got Selfless Spirit. It is a Spirit Cleric 2/1 that's got flying. And sacrifice it. Creatures you control gain indestructible until end of turn. Great utility card because you are putting this in any creature-centric deck because one, now you've got something that's going to protect your creatures from a board wipe. Then two, you're also potentially getting ETBs because of a creature entering the battlefield. Beast Whisperer, my Chulane deck. There's plenty of other creatures that give ETBs when a creature enters the battlefield. Aura Shards, Tom's favorite card that I play against him. He loves that when he's using Emery. Tom, what are your thoughts on this card, though?
I mean, it's basically a selfish savior, or better yet, the Boromir card that came out with Lord of the Rings Universe Beyond. One thing to kind of note is, like, this card goes really well with that gingerbread commander that came out during Wilds of Eldraine. I forget the exact name, but with that commander, basically what you're going to be doing is having creatures that can sacrifice themselves, because when they come back to the battlefield, guess what? They're now a 1/1 food golem, right? And then with that, food golem, you get to sacrifice them again and protect your creatures. The one key text is that creatures you control gain indestructible. So it's all your creatures. Much better than the Selfless Savior, where it can only protect the one. This one's going to protect everything, just like Boromir.
Yeah. It's also a cleric, so...
Fire, too.
It's a Spirit Cleric, so you can put that in Spirit decks, Clerics decks. There's a couple of Boros Spirit commanders, too, that are out there.
Yeah, there is a decent amount. Here. There's also Orzhov commanders as well that revolve around Cleric. Yeah, a lot of good synergies that we're seeing with this type of card.
Yeah, I remember when one of my first decks that I ever made was an Angel Cleric hybrid with Liesa. Not the Dusk Rose, it's the other one, the Forgotten Archangel, I believe. I think it's an absolute slay for the card.
Yeah, I give it a slay.
Absolutely. So what's the next one?
Bruna, the Fading Light. So here we're actually getting to one of the meld cards for the white colors. But anyways, it is a 5 generic 2 white legendary creature, Angel Horror. And when you cast Bruna, the Fading Light, you may return target angel or human creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. And then it also has flying and vigilance. And what it does is that it melds with Gisela, the Broken Blade. This is a 5/7 flying vigilance creature. Pretty awesome. I like it as far as, just the stats and the ability with it. Being able to return an angel or human creature card from the graveyard to the battlefield is also kind of nice. What's killing it for me is just the amount of mana it costs to actually cast this card. But in a commander setting, I feel like you do get that opportunity to get to that point, so it's much easier to get there. And then if you could possibly meld it with the next card, I'd say it could be a slay. I don't know, though. But I don't know. I mean, I feel like we should probably talk about Gisela if we really want to decide if this thing's a slay. What do you think, Kyle?
So my thought is I do agree, because if you're not talking about this card without this other card that we're about to say, Tom already did say, obviously, Gisela, they go hand in hand, because what is really cool about them, and you already touched upon it, is that they meld together to this 9/10.
Bracella, Voice of Nightmares, is what it turns into, which is the Eldrazi Angel.
Yeah, and that is sick. It's very high in cost. It's 7 mana to bring in, plus 4 mana for Bruna. So you're doing 11 mana in order to play that. If someone has a board wipe, they're automatically going to go after Bruna or Gisela. If both of them are on the field, that by the time it's your next turn, unless you have protection after spending 11 mana to get it out,
Selfless Spirit,
exiling, it's got to be it's got to have both hexproof and indestructible. So
here's a cool idea. Let's say we run Bruna as the commander itself. Somehow you get Gisela in your graveyard, and then at that point, by the time it's your turn, you can cast Bruna, hit Gisela from your graveyard right to the battlefield, and now at the beginning of your end step, since you're going to control both of them, you can exile them and meld them. So that would be, one quick, easy way to actually get that to happen.
The recursion, yeah, because maybe the expectation is that that's going to happen.
Yeah, so it's very possible that could be a thing.
If this had Flash, it'd be so much cooler.
Yeah,
if
but that'd be broken.
Well, I'm spending 7 mana. Give it something that, I mean, I get it. It's 2016. Put the year that this set came out above my head, but it's much slower paced back then, is what I'm trying to get at.
That is true. Angel Tribal, yeah, or maybe just having a decent commander that involves like flying angels, flying creatures, that type of stuff. I will give it. I don't think I'm going to be playing this, honestly, so I'm going to give it a nay.
We gotta that too. Like I like the concept of angels. I mean, Giada is pretty much one of the only ones that I would make like in today, because you want it to just be mono white. You want to get as many clerics and angels as fast as possible, beef them up. Get Archangel thrown out there, start gaining life and whatnot. Because you got Lyra Dawnbringer, but I'm not going to go into that. We'll do an episode on angels if we really care enough to do so. Probably not. I'm just gonna be honest. They're not they have nothing that's gonna make it competitive anymore, right? It's not very.
No, I lose to Giada every now and then.
Every now and then, it's just you got to be hitting everything on point though. Like it's got to hit the specific like flow. Like it's not as versatile.
Yeah, you know what feels bad? Turn 2 Giada. Turn 3, your Giada's already dead. And you're like, well, what am I doing here now?
Yep. Luckily, it only costs 2 mana, but we're not here to talk about Giada. That's about it, though, for our white cards. Yeah,
for our whites!
For our white cards in this set, we're going to go to what we thought was also relevant to talk about. That might be multicolored, it might be lands, it might even be some artifacts that we saw, and we already talked about the meld cards. But Tom, what do we have first?
So we're going to start off with a land that is going to be Handwear Battlements. It's basically a colorless land, and then it has the ability you can tap it, add a generic to your mana pool, or you can tap a red, tap it, and target creature gains haste until end of turn. That's pretty solid for all those red decks. Going from there, you can tap 2 red and 3 generic, and then tap it, and then if you both own and control Handwear Battlements and the creature named Handwear Garrison, you can exile them, and then it'll become Writhing Township. As far as Writhing Township goes, it becomes a 7/4 creature. And then that legendary creature is an Eldrazi Ooze. It has Trample Haste. And basically when you attack, you're going to put 2 3/2 colorless Eldrazi Horror creature tokens onto the battlefield tapped and attacking. Really cool land, honestly. I mean, if you can have the ability to have your lands also have effects as well, that's always a good plus for your deck, because now you might have another option that you just didn't have before. And nothing feels bad when you have no cards in your hand and you have nothing else to do. But if you have no cards in your hand, but now you have this on the battlefield as well, now you can have it, possibly meld and create this big 7/4 Trample Haste creature and sneak in that damage that's necessary. What are your thoughts?
Everything you said was perfect. Like, I'm just thinking about, I would put this in any dragon deck. I would put this in any red, anything that has red, honestly, that's creature centric as well, because I guarantee there are a plethora of cards that as soon as you attack, there's a multitude of abilities going on. Like I said, I would put this in my dragons deck for sure, because if I want a Tarka to be able to attack, and now I'm giving my other dragons that are attacking double strike, and it's just so good. It's so good in my eyes, because if you're playing an aggro deck, this is going.
Yeah. How about this next one, Kyle?
Tamiyo Field Researcher is a planeswalker. It comes in with 4 loyalty counters. It's got a +1 ability, it's got a -2 ability, and it's got a -7 as its ultimate. The +1 ability is choose up to 2 target creatures until your next turn. Whenever either of those creatures deal combat damage, you draw a card. So I play this in my Super Friends deck, which is my Atraxa the Grand Unifier. I do love that you can put this on other creatures that you don't control. And so when I'm playing someone and I see that they're goated, I'm putting it on those goated creatures, because I know that they're going to at least have to attack. And if they attack me, I'm letting them hit. I'm drawing 2 cards. I'll take the 4 damage, whatever it is, as long as it's not, a 20 power, 20 toughness. Obviously not. But That's what I'm going to be using it for. Then the -2 is you get to tap up to 2 non-land permanents. They don't untap during their controller's next untap step. It's great when you need to control something that is a big, scary monster. If you want to stop somebody mana fixing their deck because they have a Delighted Halfling, because they have, a Alana War Elves, any type of those mana dorks that you see. The Noble Hierarch, if you want to get into the Bant colors. So that's awesome, because it's a great controllability in it. That's where the blue I see stands out most. And then the -7 is you get to draw 3 cards and you get an emblem with a you may cast non-land cards from your hand without paying their mana cost. It starts at 4. So if you +3 that's going to be a huge target, first of all. Because the +1 ability, you're drawing cards. The -2, you're controlling someone's creatures or artifacts. And then -7, you get to now play your hand for free. And if you have any type of wheels in this Bant color, which is notorious for drawing out your whole deck if need be, it's going to be a win-win. What do you think?
I hate this card. It's too good. You have draw, you have shutting down, your opponent's stuff, and then running in a proliferate deck. I seen this card come out at turn 3, turn 4. By the next turn, it's actually about ready to ult, because if you can get it to proliferate on that first turn it comes out and get it to proliferate again, you're hitting at least 7 loyalty counters already. Before you know it, that thing's ulting and you're in deep trouble. That's why I hate it, but it's a slay. So
slay it is.
Usually a good indicator. if I hate it, it's usually a slay.
Absolutely. What do we got as the last one?
Grim Flayer. So it's Golgari, green-black, creature, human warrior, trample, and whenever Grim Flayer deals combat damage to a player, you get to look at the top 3 cards of your library, put any number of them into your graveyard, and the rest back to the top of your library in any order. It also has the Delirium mechanic. Grim Flayer is going to get +2/+2 as long as there are 4 or more card types among the cards in your graveyard. Here's my thing with it. It's a 2/2. It's not strong. I mean, you might be able to get damage in a commander game when you're running a pot of 4, but if it's just the top 3 cards and you're looking to mill your deck, I could think of about a couple other cards I'd rather just replace this with, and when it comes to milling your card out, right? Or milling your deck out. Like a Hermit Druid, right? It's just way more effective. Or even just running a Redskin, because now you get effects from those mills. It's just too underwhelming, if you ask me.
Yeah, you can use this in Get Rock Monster if you want to start getting more cards into your graveyard so you can hit the Delirium cost, but Delirium is really not that impressive. The only type of commanders that I see are just Golgari commanders. I do see Cathril, Aspect Warper, and it's a Nightmare Insect, but it's just one of those cards that you can easily take out. I think.
It's a replaceable card.
No, and you can call us idiots in the comments, because I've seen plenty of people rave about Grim Flayer, but at least in today, 2024, there are a lot better cards out there. I mean, if you need a 2/2 that, if you are milling cards or you are putting exiling or discarding cards and you just need something that beefs up really fast, cool. If that's trying to be in CDH, but I don't see this really working out. So I'm going to give that a nay as well.
Nay it is.
Last card on the Slayer nay. And this one is my low-key favorite just because of the one cool combination that you can do with, oh my goodness, why can't I remember it? Tree of Perdition. So the card is called Soul Separator. It is a artifact. 3 mana to bring it into the battlefield. Now its ability is you can tap 5, sacrifice Soul Separator, exile target creature card from your graveyard. Put a token onto the battlefield that's a copy of that card, except it is a 1/1. It's a spirit in addition to its other types, and it has flying. And then what you do is put a black zombie creature token onto the battlefield with power equal to that card's power and toughness equal to that card's toughness. So you have Tree of Perdition in the graveyard. You tap 5, exile this, Then you get to bring Tree of Perdition out as a 1/1 with the ability still on it. Tap it. Tom, I'm gonna exchange your life with my Tree of Perdition. And then what happens? Oh, Tom, I'm gonna deal 2 damage directly to your face. I think I killed you.
Fairy's protection.
Yeah, fool. Well, I would make sure to do that at like you are tapped out.
Yeah, I mean it's a very fun combo itself.
Oh, but that's all it has. That's like the only thing. There's not many commanders that they're using today, but it's an absolute nay. But I just think that's just so ruthless.
Yeah.
What
I
about
mean,
you?
the big thing here is that, I mean, we're already seeing cards that are being able to create those, like, turn your creatures into like 1/1 spirit tokens if they die. Not particularly the Tree of Perdition, because like some of the black cards, I think there is one where a creature dies, it comes back, becomes a token of a 1/1 or whatever. I know, is it Hoffrey, the red-white commander, right? Hoffrey, basically when a creature dies, return it back to the battlefield as a copy as a 1/1 spirit token. There's also, I believe it's Mirror Box as well. When it dies, once again, you can bring a creature back out, turn it into a 1/1. As far as it goes, the Soul Separator, it's a great idea, but it's already been established that there's just better cards that do that same exact effect with much less mana.
Yeah, I feel like there's a black commander that does that. I feel like it's a zombie one too. So we're gonna both give it a nay, right?
Yeah, it's an A.
Yeah, I just thought it was cool, that one combo.
I mean, Tree of Perdition, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't do that, so.
Yeah. So that's going to be it for this episode. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for continuing watching. If you are one of those, or if you're new, welcome. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Next week, I'm going to say next week because we're getting pretty good at this. We're going to be talking about Outlaws of Thunder Junction.
Yeah!
It is going to be release week, so might as well have something out as well, because we like to do a little bit of both. Keeps the channel growing, keeps it with content, keep constantly flowing as well. So thank you again, and please always stay gaslit, my friends.
That's what we're signing off with.
Fuck you, San Diego.